Alrighty, so hello everyone, I'm Tim from Tim's PC and I build custom PCs to suit anyone's needs or budget. Also live stream my builds and repairs for transparency and educational purposes. So if you'd like to get an awesome new PC and you'd like to see it get put together live, send me a message today. Alrighty, so tonight we've got a diagnose and repair kind of night going on. So the main thing we're doing tonight is actually this little PC in front of me. So this has been sent up from a customer in Sydney. And so as long as I'm not mixing it up or anything like that, the guy's name is Benjamin, if I'm not wrong. I'm so bad with names, man. So if I'm getting that wrong, I'm really sorry. My brain can't handle the amount of people that I talk to every day doing quotes and stuff like that. Alright, so a little bit of foam in there. Okay, so this is the PC. So it's very tiny. It's a mini ITX build. So there's no IO shield for the motherboard. Apparently that was lost or something like that. So yeah, we've just got to work out what is the go with this PC, whether it's a bad motherboard or the board looks like it's bent.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I can see that. From, the back of it, you can see.
Oh no! That's not where you won't be able to see. You won't be able to see it. Okay. All right. Well, where to begin? Well, I'm going to get this power supply out of the way because we're going to have to pretty much take it apart and just sort of start testing it. So this is going to be moved into a new case. So I'm sort of thinking that we might just sort of like pull this apart if we're moving it into a new case anyway. Yeah. Hey Ladios, how you going? Oh. Okay, there's our SFX power supply. It's a Cooler Master V650 80 plus gold small form factor power supply there. So our case actually fit a full size ATX power supply. But having the small form factor one is better because it gives you a wider variety of cases that you can use. Now, I would have thought that they usually include a bracket. If it's a mini ITX build, they normally include a bracket in case you bought the small form factor power supply. But like I said, it doesn't really matter because we're going to be moving this all into a new case. So what have we got here? Yeah. Oh, yep. Okay, so alright, so it looks like we don't have the SATA power cables for this. Now I might have some that are compatible with that power supply. We can look at that. So one thing I noticed off the bat is our cooler requires SATA power. So we didn't have SATA power plugged into that power supply. So it's making me think, okay, what was the fundamental issue there? Was it something to do with the cooler not having power? Was the CPU just overheating straight away? And I mean, if that's the case, then I mean that's kind of good, right? Oh damn. I think we've only got like one screw. That's alright. Okay. Okay. And do I have pin protector? Alright. So it looks like we got an RTX 3060 or 3060 Ti. Yeah, 3060 Ti if I'm not mistaken. Asus, Gigabyte. I was going to say it's the Asus one, it's the Gigabyte. Okay. Okay, so there's our small form factor build. So I'm going to have a look. There's no obvious damage. I mean, it looks alright. Got a second M2 slot on the bottom of the motherboard there. You'll see that on a few mini ITX builds. What's happened here? Well, we had a little heat sink over our SSD. It's a Samsung NVMe SSD. I just don't know what model it is. Okay. Alright, so look, we're going to start things off fairly simple, right? Going to grab a box here, just like that. I'm going to plug in a totally different graphics card. And a totally different power supply. So how else can we be sure that we definitely have a bad motherboard? Because maybe we've got a bad CPU. I'll just plug SATA power into our pump there as well, just so we actually have a pump that's functional. Oh, what am I doing? Nobody knows. Alright, so I haven't hooked up the fan on the radiator or the RGB. And oh, alright. There we go. Okay, just wanted to reseat the RAM there quickly. Okay, so we got a post. So I don't have my phone. Did I get
I have your phone right here.
oh sweet. Was my phone flat?
Is it? Oh, give it a go.
Can I just
Oh, what happened to my USB cable? USB-C cable. Oh,
it's
you've
got
something else plugged
it's
into
got
it
this
now.
plugged in.
Oh, well, I can't charge it then.
I think it's that. Oh, it's the SSD. Okay, so the customer said he was having problems and he thought it was the motherboard. So just ask him on a question there. Just ask him. So when you say, just ask him when he says black screen, does he mean literally the screen turns black and you have to turn the PC off and then on again to make it work? Or does he mean like it goes to a black screen and exits out to Windows or something like that? See, this is where language can be a bit of a problem.
So, what?
I'll just type it out to you.
I couldn't be one of those people who call, like, recording.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
terrible.
Okay. So what I'll do is I'm gonna chuck. I'm pretty happy with it because it just booted up for me straight away. let's get rid of my graphics card. Yep. Pump on the radiator's working fine.
Hello, little dog. What are you doing? Hmm? Are you being a dog? So much room in here for you, dude. No. Not much room in here.
So just wait for old mate to message back about the specifics. Because yeah, that's the challenge in this job. Someone will say something and things can get like lost in communication. I usually tell people, please don't try and impress me with your knowledge of like tech words and stuff like that. Explain your problem in as few words as possible and as simply as possible. Because as soon as we start using technical terms, people start getting confused, and you'll say something to me, maybe you don't know the exact definition of it, or maybe you're using a word that really doesn't mean much with regards to the problem that you're facing. So it can be a little bit weird, and yeah, I generally recommend that people just describe the problem really, really, really simply. That's the best way to like quickly and simply communicate. We've got to be really, really, really specific with what we mean. Consistent terms. What's going on here? Oh no, it's just loading the drivers for this graphics card. Because even though I've got another NVIDIA card there, it's an NVIDIA card from like another generation. It's a card that's...
What the fuck?
That is this little M2 turbo fan.
Oh dear God. Turn it off.
I'm just going to unplug it from the header on the motherboard there. Okay, so now we're actually on the graphics card there. The only thing we're not using is the power supply. But I don't think, from what the customer's saying, I don't think it's a power supply issue.
Bailey.
Puppy dog. Are you being a puppy dog? You know you're not allowed to do that. No. Do you have anything to say to the microphone? No? Okay. She's like, what is that?
Outside.
You are a puppy dog. I don't know if anyone can see her, but she is a blonde, little pink-nosed American Staffordshire Terrier. She is a very cute little puppy dog. Alright, anyway. Okay.
Benjamin says crashes and sometimes after a minute resets itself, but most of the time it goes black screen for 10 seconds. You can hear the game or sound still and then stops and resets when you need to reset it.
Okay. Alright. And so it does it in more games than just it does it in more games than just Dota.
Just what?
Well, he said he plays Dota.
Yeah, he says I only play Dota really, but I think so,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay, no worries. Well, let's see what happens with a bit of Furmark being run. So I don't know about you.
It sometimes has done.
Oh, look at that.
Home menu.
It just shut off. The whole system's just reset. So that
Doesn't look too comfortable, little one.
I was going to say that doesn't look too good because it's most probably a bad graphics card. Do I have? You think another customer will mind if I use his graphics card as an extra point? I don't think so. I'm going to be giving this guy a bit of a free upgrade. Anyway, all right. So we got a bit of a monster graphics card here that we're going to plug into it. This is, you know, this makes me kind of like a little bit. This makes me a little bit. I'm starting to think like dirty things here. Yeah. What?
Says also tap softly on the motherboard, RAM or GPU when it crashes, and says it's a brand new GPU, 1 month old.
Yeah, no worries. So, alright, we're going to chuck a 3080 Ti onto this little tiny mini ITX motherboard. Oh man, I have a dirty mind, and yeah. I'm seeing a, you know, a big guy and his, you know, his little shorty. That's what we got here, babe. Look at it. Look at it. I have this big, massive. Have a look at this. It's a dude. You know, he's with his shorty. Oh man, this is hilarious. Tiny motherboard, massive graphics card. It actually needs some support. Look at that. It actually we need some support. It's so big that I need some extra support. What the hell is going on here? What is going on right now? Okay, so the big, massive 3080. It's posting? Alright. So, if it's something else, CPU overheating.
It's going in the BIOS. I think. No? It's booted.
That pump wasn't going. Okay.
Gimli says hi from the UK.
Who was that?
Darren.
Hey, Darren. You said Gimli. I'm like, what the fuck?
I was literally just reading a meme and then I quickly swapped.
Darren's not Gimli from Lord of the Rings.
I know that. Oh, I'm tired. I want to go to bed.
Okay.
That was funny.
Okay, so let's make sure nothing's overheating. Seems alright. Yeah.
What if it was the CPU hitting trouble causing the PC to reset?
It could be because that SATA cable wasn't plugged in. That could very well be the cause of the problem. That could quite easily be what was going on here. But yes, that cooler is definitely functioning. It's got quite a bit of heat already generating from it. So definitely the cooler's fine. I'm going to activate the fan on the cooler there because it's getting a little bit toasty. But yes, I mean this sort of feels okay. Just sort of giving it a bit of jolt testing. Oh, lots and lots of heat on the MOSFET here. I mean that's fairly typical with mini ITX builds, but maybe we want to tune those fans a little bit for this build with this motherboard. Oh, there we go. Okay. So black screen, okay. We're seeing what's going on here. No. I think you might be right. So there's a lot of heat. There's a lot of heat on that MOSFET VRM. So let's turn it back on. Oh. It was so heavy. It's so heavy that it pulled itself out of the socket. We have to put something behind it at the back to support it. Nah, it's a smaller space. I just need a little bit in between the in between the box and the card. Alright, so why am I not seeing anything?
You broke it.
Well, remember, this has been sent to us with the customer suspecting it's the motherboard. We're always skeptical. We always assume nothing when it comes to PC diagnosis. We always assume that it could be anything when we start. Okay. Motherboard temperature 57 degrees at idle. This is what I don't like. Okay, CPU is a DC, and we want just full speed all the time on our pump. Oh, hang on. Which header do I have it in? Oh, no. That's our fan there, which, you know, realistically should probably be on full speed all the time as well. The pump is on full speed already, and we don't have anything else. Chipset. Okay. I want to get some airflow on up the back there. Alright, so let's give this another crack. So remember, this is with a completely different graphics card. Yeah.
Then, so it's the motherboard is the only original part from my last build. All other parts are newish.
Yep. Alright, no worries.
Been through a couple of builds.
Do you want to grab if this restarts again, do you want to grab a BIOS update for the board just to be sure? Because good question. It is a MSI MPG B550i gaming.
MPG what?
MPG B550i Gaming Edge Max Wi-Fi. MOSFET VRM feeling a bit better now.
Is that it?
Yeah, that'll be the one. Support up the top.
Yeah.
I know. It's just weird because that ASUS one.
This is an interesting one. Is there such thing as a VRM overheating protection circuit which shuts down PC?
Yeah,
Or only
absolutely.
CPU?
Absolutely. Well, see, the thing is, because of how it's all wired up, if you do have a situation where the CPU pump isn't getting power properly or isn't functioning properly, and the CPU starts to overheat, you'll also overheat the MOSFET and VRM. That's just how this works. Same thing, like the same sort of thing can happen if you plug a really powerful graphics card into into like a cheaper motherboard. You can get the same sort of thing. The chipset and the MOSFET and VRM can start to overheat. But yes, I mean, the customer says this is a new card, so it's definitely going to be under warranty. The board, he reckons, is from the last build. But yes.
Sometimes I can play for 5 hours, no issue, then randomly it crashes non-stop on CC.
Yeah, okay. Alright, so that's looking a lot better. So our MOSFET there, MOS. So that was up at like 57 degrees and stuff at idle. Chipset getting a little bit warm there. I wonder. Oh, I just noticed something. This fan that was getting all thingy, it's the M2 slot is actually over the chipset. So our chipset should also be running a bit cooler than that. It's not overheating as such, but I might wanna plug that back in because it's probably gonna get a bit warm. Although, you know, we're not putting a lot of CPU power from it. Okay. Let's shut it down. Let's move back to the original card. I'll plug back in this chipset heatsink. So I mean, realistically, if it was a faulty motherboard, I would expect to see something else, some sort of other kind of failures occurring. And such a tiny little header, this. Don't make me take the RAM out. No, RAM's coming out. And so one thing about this, there was only one screw in it. So I wonder. I wonder if it just wasn't making good contact or something.
Ben seems to have lost the other screw, and the fan has a broken off blade. Tim?
Oh, yeah, it does too. I probably wouldn't have noticed. Alright. So I've replaced the screws there for you. So let's get that going on. Because yeah, what can happen, right? Especially in a mini ITX case, you can end up with black screen failures like that. If something like the MOSFET's overheating, so MOSFET and chipset, and when you've got a small form factor build and it's basically a lot of power running through a really small amount of space, you're more prone to these random overheating issues. So hopefully we got to do our due diligence, because I don't want to charge the customer for a new motherboard for no reason unless he wants to buy a new motherboard and upgrade. So okay, so we got power, RAM, etc. All I need is my screwdriver to touch on the power on pins and short those out. So yeah, there's two little pins for the power on button, and the power button, when you press on it, it makes those two pins connect. That's why I can turn it on with my screwdriver. If you're wondering what the hell I'm doing with a big chunky screwdriver on that motherboard, that is the name of the game. Okay, so did you find the BIOS?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. I'll chuck that. I'll chuck that on at some stage. But for now, let's have a quick go. So we've got our original graphics card, but I have reason to believe there's nothing wrong with this graphics card now. Okay, so let's have a look. Where are we sitting? CPU. That's pretty normal. For our sys 40, MOS 43, chipset 44. Okay, so that's come down. That's come down a lot now with that heatsink mounted. Is it continuing to drop? I mean, 44, low 40s is about right. I mean, we're about, what, 26 degrees in this room? 25, 26 degrees, I think. About that. Okay, so let's get some power running through this. Yeah, I mean the chipset fan's not even on, so to give you an idea about where 44 degrees is. So 45 CPU socket, PCIe 1. Okay. Well, I mean that's all looking positive, right? And I'm saying that so hopefully I jinx myself and oh no, that's nice now. You'll have to take my word touching the motherboard with regards to the temperature. I do have a temp gun somewhere, which I should use.
We lost that ages ago.
I'll buy another one. Temp guns are cool, but yeah, you've got to take my word for it. You can see it on the screen now. It's nowhere near the temperature it was running before. Oh damn! Look at that.
I had one of them fly into my eye, and my eyes were like burning. Oh no. You can get an Avatar inspired graphics card from AMD.
Avatar inspired. Oh, that Avatar.
Yeah, no,
Sorry, I was thinking.
Not the cool
I was thinking Avatar: The Last Airbender.
No.
The cartoon.
No. Not that.
Sorry, that was just what was in my mind. I've seen some stuff about that recently. All right, so let's run a bit more power through it. So chipset and MOS, this is where we were seeing some issues. So now we're stressing out the graphics card and the CPU here at the same time. Not quite as intense as Cinebench, but it's still a stress test. So our CPU can get up to 95 degrees and the rest of the stuff there on the motherboard should really stay below 70 degrees. It won't throttle till it's a bit hotter than that, but if you see it getting up that hot, that could be an indication that something's not quite right. Well,
What did you change for the temps to go down?
So what we did was we just connected the the SATA power there for the pump. We've put new screws in the M2/chipset heatsink on the motherboard. We also tuned the fans. I'm hoping that it just had something to do with that chipset heatsink, to be honest. Because what Ben's been saying is that it only happens after like a certain amount of time. It doesn't just happen straight away. So we might do a bit more of an extended. Yeah, we might do a bit more of an extended stress test on this one, like off camera. Like if I wake up in the middle of the night, I'll come in and turn it on and do that. Just to be super sure. We want to make sure that it's definitely running at the right kind of temperatures and stuff like that. Make sure it's not getting too hot. All this stuff is very, very important when we do a mini ITX case. So people come to me all the time and they want super high powered computers, but they want it in like a small form factor case, like a mini ITX build. And I probably lose some sales because I'm sort of reluctant to do it because, like, you know, they want like an i9 and stuff like that. i9s run at like 100 degrees under load in like a Lianli D11 with 10 fans and plenty of airflow in a cold room. Like, let alone chucking that on a small motherboard and pushing all that power through the motherboard into the CPU. Oh, it's not ideal. So what Ben's got here, a Ryzen 5600 and an RTX 3060 Ti, and probably 32 gigabytes of RAM there. That's a good, like, reasonable ITX build, in my opinion. You can get cases that can support a bigger graphics card, and that's okay, but you don't want to be plugging in super high powered CPUs into a mini ITX build. Like, you can do it, I'm not your mum, but ideally you shouldn't do that. The board's already cut down and has a lot of circuitry in a small space as it is. It doesn't need you chucking in CPUs that draw 250, 300 watts. I need a temp gauge for the room so we could see what ambient temperatures that we have here. CPU at 80C. And so that sounds really hot, but that's about right for a Ryzen 5600. The thing you got to remember is this is open frame testing, because we're going to be using a different case than this. So I figured we'll pull it out and we'll test it outside of the case because it's easier to work on, and yeah, it just makes things a lot easier. Just make sure our cooler has even mounting pressure. Oh, look at that.
What?
Our CPU just dropped 7 degrees straight away from even mount. Yep, let's get this really even. Look at that. That's made a big difference now. Our temperature's actually coming down from where it was. So 80C, not necessarily too hot for a 5600, but that looks like a much better mount. So it's really important with the AM4 standard brackets where you've got the two bolts and it goes over the clips. It's really important that you apply an even amount of pressure to both. So never like rush through that part. Like I said, you don't need to get out the torque wrench, right? But you need to not necessarily count the rotations, but put like a good amount of force, not like full on hard, but just like finger and thumb tight, and do that for both, and make sure you've got about roughly the same amount of resistance on both screws, and it's nice and even, and then you know you've got a better mount.
And since I did buy the thermal tape with the CPU, so it CPU cooler, so also because I do live in the country and it gets hot, so that should keep things cooler. He's got a different cooler.
Oh, he's got a different cooler. Yeah, yep. No worries.
Dog.
Well, yeah, like I said, the mounting pressure was a bit uneven on the CPU there, and as we can see there, it was running at 80 degrees, and it's dropped down. It's now running at 69 degrees. So that was a 10-degree difference based on the mounting pressure there on our cooler. So this is a great demonstration in this live feed about how important it is to get that right on your AM4, AM5 socket motherboards. So you don't ever want to put too much tension on them. That's why I said don't go nuts tightening them, but you want it to be a nice thumb tight. Okay, the big thing is even, because what happens when you've got a flat block and one side is got like this much force and the other side's got that much force, you end up with not good contact with the flat lid of the CPU, so you don't get as good cooling performance. So it's really important to get that equal. I normally gloss over it in all of my live streams, but yeah, it's not like every single one we use these brackets. So look, if it was that, I think we may have gotten to the bottom of this. Because the thing is, right, if the CPU starts overheating, you'll start overheating the MOSFET and VRM. You'll start overheating co-processors, you'll start overheating the chipset. It's all connected. If one thing starts overheating, it'll start overheating the other things. So, alright, so that is looking significantly better. Graphics card is up to temp. The air coming out of our radiator feels good.
Oh, you have smelly dog farts, the one. I'm glad the fan's pointing towards you.
Well, I don't think we're going to need a new motherboard.
No?
But look, we're gonna do a bit more of a thorough test. All right, so yeah, chipset is under here. That MOSFET heatsink would do a lot better with a fan over the top of it. Do I have a fan in here handy? Probably not. Now that I've cleaned up.
Black one.
Yeah, whatever. No, actually, hang on, I don't need it. I'm sorry, I don't mean to.
Pikachu uses Thundershock.
Alright, so I've just chucked this little Intel cooler there on the MOSFET heatsink, just because there would normally be like a fan on the radiator sort of having a bit of airflow over the top of it, and it can make a bit of a difference. So let's just make sure that we're testing this in as close to real world conditions as possible. Well, yes, I think what was really happening fundamentally is there was like a sort of a bit of a thermal chain reaction going on. One thing was overheating, it was causing something else to overheat, and things have different temperature tolerances and all that. And I think just because you just play Dota, so you don't play any like really hardcore super demanding, like playing like Call of Duty in 4K, something like that. You're not playing games like that. This 3060 Ti will do you fine. You're saying you might have used it in a hot environment, so that could also be a factor here as well. Like I said, it's not like a cold air conditioned room here. The air conditioner's not on. It's about probably 25 degrees in here right now as an ambient temperature. Alright, so it's dropped a degree. Okay, yeah, at least we're simulating the airflow over the top of it. Well, that might be pretty much all we're gonna do with this, because I need to let this run for an extended period of time, just to make sure. But yeah, I think it was just a case of that cooler wasn't mounted quite right. The chipset heatsink wasn't mounted quite right. There's a couple of things like that would all play in together to create the problem that the customer was talking about. And so what's good is that so far I'm not seeing any evidence that the motherboard itself is faulty. But one thing we might do, we haven't had a failure. Christine's been really good, and she's got us a new BIOS for it. So we'll load up the new BIOS. Now, sometimes with a new BIOS, they'll sort of make some changes with like how the system gets powered. So some of these like relatively high temperatures may be addressed with a BIOS update. So yeah, we're running with a BIOS from 2021. So
this one was updated this year, a couple months ago.
Yeah, yep, that's good.
It is new, y'all.
Can you ask Benjamin about the SATA cable from the power supply? Okay. So version 8 to version E. So what's E in normal? A is 11, B is 12, C is 13. Yeah.
Then the new case and CPU cooler should arrive this week for the rebuild. They had an issue at school tape and I only posted them today. And he says, I lost it to the SATA.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I should have some Cooler Master SATA cables somewhere spare. Okay, so I'll probably be able to fix that up for you. But yeah, I think this is all looking fairly good for the motherboard. And yeah, I think we've found the root of our problem.
That is sick. Dude built a Stargate in his backyard. That's awesome. I want a Stargate.
I want that, but I want that to be a pool.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. That would be cool. Have it one of those like plunge pools, so it's like
In the future, not too far in the future, we'll probably be able to get that exact thing 3D printed and brought in as like a plastic thing that goes around it.
Dude does live streams and like builds random shit like this.
Mm.
Maybe ask him for
No, don't ever ask people for free shit.
No, I didn't mean for free.
At least once a week, I get like a kid asking me for a free PC.
Oh please, my mum won't buy me one.
Yeah, literally like that.
I have a Twitch channel. Can you supply me a PC?
I have a Twitch channel with like 500 followers. Can I have a free PC? It's like, dude, even if you had 10,000 followers, I'd still wouldn't give you a free PC. Even if you had 1 million followers, maybe. Depends who your followers are. I mean, I don't care if you got 1 million people in the United States, because that's not where I sell PCs. So I'm not going to give you a free PC.
Huh, check this out. She painted that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's got she's using real thermal paste on it too.
No way.
She's got a big massive blob of it. That's cool. I like that.
Oh, God. Is more better?
It's NVIDIA's Happy Halloween image.
Ugh.
Like, Happy Halloween.
Oh,
Some of us like a good
thanks.
scare.
Oh, God. That's horrible, NVIDIA. Why would you post that? That is just horrible. Fuck you.
Fucking hell.
You knew what you were doing. They knew what they were doing. Okay. Okay. All right, let's go back to stressing this system out. Yeah.
Veteran says, oh, Tim, I think that we got replaced. Also, remember I didn't have any from the last bill and used the old leftovers.
Oh, okay.
Oh, for when we do the rebuild. Yeah, Tim.
Oh, yeah, don't worry about that, man. I've got plenty of thermal paste. I got so much that I give it away.
Cow's face got blurred out of Google.
Like I said, that's an automatic thing. No one's actually doing that. Alright, so with the BIOS update, these temps are looking even better.
Very good.
But yes, like I said, we'll let this one run for an undisclosed amount of time. And basically, alright. Okay, so that's looking a bit better across the board now, isn't it? That's without graphics card fan curve adjustment. It's just out of the box there. Okay, well, what I want to see is if it's the motherboard, then we should see it crash.
Tim,
Yeah.
Miss Walsh says, when the kids come to my door for trick or treat, I say, show me a trick.
Yeah. What sort of tricks? What sort of?
You don't do that because they come back with eggs and paper, toilet paper. I've done
The
that.
young kids won't though. The young kids won't.
Miss Walsh says, I'm the Grinch who stole Christmas.
Ah.
Ow. I'm dressed as Pikachu. We don't get trick or treaters where we are.
Nah, man, no trick or treaters here. My driveway's 100 meters long.
Imagine doing
And
our
before
street.
you picture like some mansion, believe me, it's not a mansion.
No.
It's 100 meters of gravel
Mhm.
with a drain next to it.
A slight uphill.
As a culvert to divert water. I have civil infrastructure on my property.
Ooh.
Haha,
Yeah.
look at me,
Okay.
Mr. Civil.
Hey, you're not as civil as the civil engineer 2 houses down.
Oh, I know.
Driveway.
There's a guy who owns a big civil engineering company that does like government contracts and stuff like that. And he's got this house on top of the hill that he bought. It was this like really steep, dilapidated property.
Yeah, whenever it rained,
But
the driveway
getting
ended
bought by the
up.
guy who owns a civil company. It was the perfect guy to buy it, and he's cleaned it up. There's a nice sealed bitumen driveway up the hill now, and a huge big silt trap on the side of the hill now, so it doesn't piss out with fucking dirt and shit all over the road every time it rains. So I'm happy he's there. All good. Go install a bigger gate if you want. He's got this big gate like halfway up the hill. It's kind of a bit weird because it's like there's no fence next to it. It's just this big gate to drive through.
And he's put in his own street light.
Yeah, he's got a street light at the gate. It's like, oh, come on, bro.
You're putting the rest of us to shame.
You're putting everyone else in the street to shame. Gotta keep up. I gotta keep up with the Joneses now. I gotta do something about the front entrance to my driveway now. Yeah.
As all goes well, can you set up my PC and overclock it? I noticed you didn't in the boot menu with my motherboard CPU.
Oh yeah. I can activate anything from the motherboard that's like a setting like that. I don't generally overclock customers' PCs, just because, just in terms of warranty things, because if something gets pushed back because something was overclocked and all that, like you could be voiding your warranty. Could, not necessarily, but could. So just because of that, I just sort of don't do it. So anything like that's sort of at your own risk. If it's stuff on the motherboard, like in BIOS, that allows you to like a set overclock thing from in the BIOS, yeah, definitely activate all that stuff for you. I mean, we did that with the memory there. Like active the XMP profile, which bumps it up from 2400 megahertz to 3600 megahertz. So like stuff like that, yeah, no problems at all. Going in and actually changing the power and clock speeds and stuff of the CPU, yeah, I don't do any of that. What I do the opposite to that for some PCs like the i9s and stuff like that. I put in what I call a custom power profile for that, and that's something that people use if they get an i9 and they're using it for like video rendering, because it runs really hot, those i9 chips. But if we limit the wattage that the motherboard's trying to push through the CPU, we can get the i9 to run in the 70s or the 80s while at 100% all cores, all threads under load. So that I do some underclocking for certain builds and certain customers. But yeah, I never go in there and push things up higher. Plus, I'd be making problems for myself because not every CPU comes out the same. They're all slightly different. So they've got some have bigger imperfections than others. So even if I just use the same settings for every one, they wouldn't work the same for every one. And I don't have time to like be on the phone and stuff with people trying to like work out their overclock settings and stuff like that. I just don't have time. Barely have time to do everything else. So alright, well, I mean, this is all, like I said, this is all looking pretty good because we're at the point now where, you know, I've been messing around with this all night. I've checked everything on the board there. We found that the chipset heatsink was missing one of the screws, so that wasn't making good contact. We found that the cooler didn't have even pressure on it. And I've also heard from the customer that there was no fresh thermal paste when it was moved over from another build, which isn't necessarily as bad as what it sounds. I mean, as you can see, the system's not overheating now. And so yeah, probably if we redid the thermal paste on that, we could probably get it down even lower. But yes, I mean, MOSFET okay, chipset okay, CPU socket, CPU temp, it's all looking a lot better than what it was. But like I said, I'll let this one run for a couple more hours just to be super sure that it's definitely nothing with our motherboard, because this is quite a good motherboard, man. This is not some like little piece of shit. It's actually a half decent motherboard. This is the kind of board that I'd recommend to one of my customers for a mini ITX build. Like, not just the cheapest one off the shelf. Like, this is the sort of one that I recommend. It's not, you haven't spent like a stupid amount on the absolute highest of high-end ones, but you haven't gone with the cheapest one that you can find. It's that sort of mid-rangey one. Little on the cheap, closer to the cheaper than the super expensive, but it's got it where it counts. You know, these heat sinks and stuff on the board and whatnot, they work really well. The fact that I can just, you know, gauge the temperature from touching it with my fingers, that tells me that there's really good heat transfer from the hot component to the actual heat sink. So that's really good. MSI makes some good motherboards. So in this one, you know, they've got all the right things on it. You've got USB-C, you've got optical out on the sound part of it. You got Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.1. You've even got a PS2 port, and a total of 6 USB ports. 6 USB ports on a mini ITX is pretty good. So yeah, happy days. But yeah, I think that's where we'll probably leave it for tonight. I was gonna diagnose this other motherboard, but that's no big deal. I think this was more exciting for tonight anyway, going through this one. But yeah, it looks like we've gotten to the bottom of it. But you know, I'll let you know tomorrow or something. But yeah, this is where I'll throw it over to anyone who's got any other final questions or comments for me before we sign off. Because yeah, I think we've definitely worked out our cause. Things are starting to overheat. One thing leads to another. I get a bit of a chain reaction. What's up?
Oh, you said chain reaction and someone
Oh. She said chain. I said chain reaction. I looked over and she had the customer's message threat on. She starts like moving her head around. I'm like, oh, what's wrong? And she's just singing Chain Reaction, the lyrics to that song.
Genesis, I think we hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, I think it was. I think that's
the
what.
Chain reaction overheating makes sense.
Yeah, that's what sort of strikes me as the issue. Like one thing sort of affecting another, which affects another. But yeah, we'll let this one run. In case you don't know, Thermark's sort of like running a game. As you can see here, we're using 100% of the graphics card 3D rendering. We're not using too much of the RAM here, but we're using 100% of the CPU to generate a bit of heat, run a bit of power through it. But yeah, like I said, it looks like it's behaving itself now. And yeah, like I said, not a piece of shit motherboard, so I'd be if you're not changing the CPU and RAM and everything else, yeah, keep this board. Don't bother spending money on a new one or anything like that, unless it crashes or does something else for me now. But as for your power supply, okay, so I will double check and make sure the pinout is the same, but I'm pretty sure this white Cooler Master cable, which has the right connection for the power supply there, I'm pretty sure that'll have the same pin configuration as the rest of them there. So we'll be able to plug everything in. We've got the SATA cable, etc. So happy days. Alright, well look, I think that's where we'll leave it for tonight. So thanks everyone for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you all in the next video.